as we spend the whole time celebrating the hottest Web3 games of summer 2022. So every day I'll be here chatting with different projects at 3 p.m. UTC, and we're live. Each one has its own exclusive competition as well, running through DappRadar. So today we're joined by Gravy. He's the marketing director at leading gaming dapp Aavegotchi. And we're going to discuss the evolution of Aavegotchi, all the hottest Gotchiverse updates, land farming, and so much more. So how are you doing today, Gravy? You good?
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to go through this and explain Aavegotchi to your community and some of ours that are hopping over to watch as well.
Awesome, man. Well, that's why we're here. And most importantly, I like to let the community of both sides almost get a human, the human touch on what this project's all about and meet the people who are responsible for how it goes. So, yeah. So as I mentioned, we've got these competitions running. So if you want to tuck into some free ghost tokens, you can enter our exclusive giveaway for your chance to be a lucky winner. There's $2,000 worth of ghost that are going to go out to 200 lucky winners. And the winners will be announced on the 15th of August. The link is scrolling across the screen now. So head over to there. You'll find all the information you need. Just simply click enter. You've got a question to answer. The more savvy of you will hear the answer very soon in our chat right now. So keep your ears open, okay? Right. So yeah, just head over to DappRadar.com, DappDays, join in, answer the few easy peasy questions, and be in with a chance to win. So to give everyone a little 411 on Aavegotchi, it's an open source community-owned NFT gaming protocol. Quite complicated. That's why we've got Gravy here to talk about it. It enables actual asset ownerships for gamers. And yeah, I'm not going to tread on his toes anymore. So let's dive straight in, shall we? So I think before we dive into like Aavegotchi and Gotchiverse, Gravy, I'd like to know a little bit about you, man, like a little bit about yourself and how you've ended up in this kind of crazy blockchain space.
All right. This one's fun. So yeah, thanks for having me, everyone. I'm Gravy, Director of Marketing here at Aavegotchi. Pixelcraft Studios, the game developers behind Aavegotchi. And I actually ended up working with Aavegotchi. I've been in the space for quite some time now, and I was working in the normie world as a director of marketing for an electronics manufacturing company. And I'm sure we've all been there, all done that. At some point, we were taking extra breaks to go check on prices during the last bull run. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
We'll run to the car or something. But you're really just checking on your bags to see where they're at. It's super exciting. Eventually, I was like, my heart is in my heart is in blockchain crypto space. I actually took a leap of faith and I voluntarily left my previous position in search for a full-time crypto position. And I was looking at projects that I really, truly wanted to be a part of, and Aavegotchi was one of them. And I went through everything, Aavegotchi website, docs, everything. And I'm like, you know what, this is the place that I want to be. If I can get a full-time crypto job working for Aavegotchi, I think I've made it. And so I applied, and I turned out to be the person that they decided to hire, and I couldn't be more happy. It's truly, I finally understand what people say when you're like working on something that you truly enjoy. It's not really work. And so I finally got there after about a decade of normie experience in electronics manufacturing, and just getting absolutely Gotchi pilled and being able to be the director of marketing here. So super excited.
That's an awesome journey, man. And it's very cool to hear that it really kind of locked you on, and then you really dived in, took it upon yourself to learn everything and then engross yourself. Like, that's really cool, man. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Thanks, man. It's always the first question because I like to get an idea of who it is I'm actually talking to here, So now we're going to talk about Aavegotchi and the Gotchiverse, and I'm going to lay down a slight challenge to you today, Gravy. Now, we do all know that sort of Web3 applications can be a little bit complex. That's kind of why we do these shows. Now, Aavegotchi is one of the more complicated, and the challenge I'm going to throw to you, and it's okay if there's a little fail in there because this is not an easy challenge. I want you to try and explain what Aavegotchi is all about, but I want you to imagine it's grandmas listening and they kind of need to get it. So it's a tough challenge. Let's see how you get on. But bottom line, we're just going to explain what Aavegotchi and Gotchiverse is all about today.
Yeah, so explaining to the grandma, that's the wrench in the gear. Okay, so Aavegotchi isn't simply Aavegotchi. Like I mentioned earlier, Pixelcraft Studios, who is actually who I am employed by, is the dev studio behind Aavegotchi and the Gotchiverse. So the Aavegotchi itself is several different things. It's the Aavegotchi protocol, which you mentioned earlier, an open source community owned NFT gaming protocol enabling true asset ownership for gamers. But it's also the Aavegotchi NFTs, which you can see if my PFP pick is up. It's cute little ghosts, ERC 721s that has wearables attached to them, ERC 1155s that actually have Aave interest bearing tokens staked inside of them. So those are the Aavegotchi NFTs on top of the Aavegotchi protocol. On top of that, we have the Gotchiverse, which is our flagship game, our flagship NFT game. It celebrates the best of blockchain technology. It's a metaverse that is built on the Aavegotchi protocol, where you can farm, explore, build, battle, earn, and ultimately fight the Aavegotchi arch nemesis, the Liquidator, Liquiddator. So the Liquidator. You can farm the in-game currencies, FUD, FOMO, Alpha, and Keck, which are used to install or craft, I should say, craft installation NFTs, and also to upgrade them. If you're not, crafting, installing, and upgrading them, you can trade them on the free market as well. So that's FUD, FOMO, Alpha, and Keck, which are the 4 in-game currencies of the Gotchiverse. So it's also Aavegotchi DAO. So Aavegotchi, we are governed by the community. Aavegotchi is governed by Aavegotchi DAO and the native eco governance token Ghost. So we are truly a community built game in the Gotchiverse, and everything in Aavegotchi itself. If there's a major update that needs to be made or recommended, it does go through a vote. We are actually the world's most active DAO. I'm pretty excited about that. Actually, we just tweeted out a few days ago, Nansen had a dashboard that showed us that we were the #1 most active DAO at the current snapshot or the current screenshot of that, ahead of Decentraland, ahead of several other large names. Our community is truly extremely active. And sometimes our best ideas come from our community as well. So as long as you hold Aavegotchi assets like Ghost, you have a say in what can get implemented, and also have a say on what gets voted on to pass into fruition, whether that be on Aavegotchi or in the Gotchiverse.
Okay. So I think you did a great job there, because
I don't know if Grandma really had a good time during that spiel, but we'll see.
Grandma's kind of like, I think you've piqued Grandma's interest, and I think like I mean, when I'm listening, I'm hearing these are financial tools, right? In essence, these are financial tools that are wrapped up in a kind of gamified visual way to give people a kind of more friendly experience in the world of finance, right? That's what I could tell my nan.
Yeah, that's correct.
With levels of complexity that I think with something like this, you've got to start at the simplistic level, right? And then you've got to use it. You've got to interact. You've got to see how it works. So, but I think good job, man. Like, that was not easy. So let's dive in and let's break apart all the topics and stuff like that, and try and get
to
that.
touch on what you just mentioned. DeFi is kind of a complicated thing for most people in general, and that's one of the awesome things about Aavegotchi itself, is we really gamified the education on how to DeFi. So if you want to learn how to DeFi by books, videos, awesome. But if you want to learn how to DeFi in a gamified way with cute ghosts where you can earn money while you're doing it, that's one of the benefits of joining Aavegotchi. Not only that, but also being a part of the world's most active DAO, and just really diving headfirst in a fun, cute way.
Yeah. That's it, right? It's that fun, cute thing. That was actually, you just nailed it there, man. Like that little summary at the back end. But cool. Let's get a little bit deeper, because it's not a simplistic topic. So we do need to dive in a little bit as well. But I will ask you a fairly simple question now, is in which blockchain is Aavegotchi running on?
Yeah, so we're on Polygon. There's also a really good story that we have. Before we launched, we were going to launch on Ethereum, and we actually have an article out online that you could read that. And we were thinking, at the time, ETH fees were about $12. So like in comparison to what we just experienced in the past year or two, that's not that bad. But we really we're taking a conscious look at, what could happen, because we have a minimum of two of you can do one interaction a day. But you can pet your Gotchi 2 times a day. So imagine, even at $12, petting your Gotchi 2 times a day is $24. And just this last year, we're looking at $300 to $600 just to pet an Aavegotchi. So we made the decision that we wanted to be on Polygon instead, because we have several transactions. We have not just petting your Gotchi, but also everything interacting, installing NFT installations in the Gotchiverse, all sorts of different things. So we recognized early on, even when ETH was a $12 fee, over a year and a half ago, that in the future, with all these transactions, we needed to be a lot more sustainable and affordable. So we have fractions of a penny transactions, 2 to 4 to 6, depending on, how many times you interact with your Aavegotchi and how many times you interact with the Gotchiverse. And it's just an incredibly much more affordable approach.
Yeah, of course, right. No, very smart moves. And I think you did the right thing by kind of taking a backseat and observing and thinking that this is probably going to go higher and making some, trying to negate it as well. But I've actually just had a question from the community and it goes perfectly hand in hand with this. So will Aavegotchi, sorry, this question is from player Suwek. Will Aavegotchi support cross-chain in the future? There is not only Polygon users, because a lot of people in the crypto space use Binance Smart Chain, or BNB Chain, sorry, as it's called. Any plans for some expansion?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we are completely 100% on chain as it is. So we are very interoperable in the current state. But of course, we would love to expand to have everyone and everything possible inside the Gotchiverse, and vice versa. We are working directly with a couple of, we've been in World Wide Web's metaverse. We've been against Okishi online. They're building a little bit of a metaverse for us to go in there and play. But we're also going to be bringing people into our metaverse. In the future, obviously, interoperability on cross chains is in the picture. The sky's the limit in all reality. We've been building something for the past 2 years we just released a few months ago. And of course, the idea behind it is to have as many people in there as possible. And that would include cross chain. But right now, if you're on the Polygon chain and like World Wide Web, you can bring your avatars, your characters into our Gotchiverse. We haven't had an open, collaboration with that just yet, but that is possible.
Cool, man. So it's all possible, but I think in this space as well, like you said, Gotchiverse is still pretty young, right? People want things to move super fast, right? They need 2 weeks later, you need to have come with something else. It seems to be
Yeah. You need something quick and fast to capture the attention for sure. But these things take a little bit longer than a week or two.
That's it, right? And I think that's a message we try to get out there often Rome wasn't built in a day. Give these guys a chance. They are working. So yeah, definitely. That's cool. Okay, so we want to talk about the kind of lifetime, the span of Aavegotchi, and then this kind of transition into the Gotchiverse idea as well. And to do that, because Aavegotchi's been around a while, can you tell us about some of the kind of wins and fails and the things in between? Because sometimes we find that the biggest fails can turn into the biggest wins because they give you a piece of opportunity that you hadn't even realized. So do you mind telling us a bit about that, the kind of flow of things? And
yeah, sure. So I do. We are a bit of an OG in the space. We've celebrated our 2nd year anniversary just this past July. So in this space, that's a bit of OG. I'd like to mention that it takes quite a while to get to where we're at. Some of the things that we have recognized, we have a really big brain community, and like I mentioned earlier, everything from the least important to the most important decisions are brought to a vote in the DAO, and we've had so many good community members come up with so many good ideas that sometimes they catch things before our team even does. They bring it to our attention, and we're like, hey, that's a really good idea. Let's bring it to vote. But one thing that we could transition into with the question that you asked was, the cost barrier of entry. For some projects, it's just simply too much for people. And not only that, but they want to be able to maybe try it out before spending, X amount of thousands of dollars on an NFT asset. So we've actually created something called Gotchi lending, which we completely eliminated the cost barrier of entry. So you can literally go borrow an Aavegotchi from a community member on our Aavegotchi NFT marketplace called the Bazaar, and you could test this out and play in the Gotchiverse and see what it's all about before you even drop, you know, $1,000 on a floor Gotchi at the moment. So
Right.
that was a big one for us. And not only that, but we're revolutionizing the way you share assets on the blockchain. And I do imagine several projects, if not all of them in the future, will implement something like this. And it's just really cool to be one of the first, if not the first, to do it.
You were definitely one of the early ones to implement it. Absolutely. I remember at that time. It seems a very Web 2 notion in my mind. That kind of, I remember mobile gaming back in like 2013, 14. There was always like a first level that was basically like a play, try before you buy kind of thing. Like you didn't have to invest much time, but you got to have a little go. It just seems very logical that people would like to do that, right? We would. I'm sure you would. It seems to be the
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a NFTs price points vary dramatically, obviously, very drastically. So,
yeah,
I mean, our floor Gotchi is probably around $1,000 right now, which isn't a lot in comparison to, let's say, like Bake or something. But
yeah.
like, it still gives you the option to figure out what this is, what you can do. Hop into the Gotchiverse. You could pet a Gotchi. You could do all sorts of things, but with borrowing it. With our Gotchi lending smart contracts, you can borrow it for 4 hours, or you could borrow it up to 30 days. So you don't necessarily
Oh,
even have to own an Aavegotchi to do everything in the Gotchiverse to compete in rarity farming, all sorts of different things. But really, it's such a cool concept because people, I mean, even in areas where play to earn is a very big part of people's lives, but maybe they don't have the money that it takes to be able to pay to play. It
I see.
really gives more opportunities throughout the entire world to get involved in Aavegotchi. And with Gotchi lending, I do want to hit on real quick. You can, you know, split the earnings between 2 or 3 parties. So if somebody's borrowing your Gotchi, picking up Alchemica in the Gotchiverse or channeling their altars, you could split that percentage between a borrower, a lender, or even go a third with a third party, like a guild would do. So it
Oh.
really enables a lot of participation at a much, much lower barrier of entry.
And
Uh,
are they kind of quite easy kind of things to choose? You know, for example, I'm lending this Gotchi, I want to do it for 30 days and I want to
mhm.
create this kind of percentage split. Do you need to be able to write smart contracts to do this, Gravy? Or is this like a kind of
Absolutely not. We've done it for you. You
nice?
hop into the our NFT bazaar, NFT marketplace, I should say, the bazaar, and you go to Gotchi Lending, and you can literally search all of the lists of
Ah,
Gotchis that are up for borrowing. Or if you own a Gotchi, you simply go to your Gotchi dashboard and you click on the lending feature, and then you set the parameters, the time that you want to lend out your Gotchi, how much you want to lend your Gotchi for, whether that be, you know, 0 ghosts, 10 ghosts, whatever
yeah,
fraction of ghost you want to earn up front, and then the percentage split. So if it was between me, if you were to borrow my Aavegotchi,
yeah,
maybe I want a 20% fee where you get 80% of all the Alchemica you collect, and then I get 20% of that.
nice.
Or
Okay.
I could do 0%, you 100%, and raise the upfront cost. There's a whole bunch of different parameters that you can choose from to get people involved. But at the end of the
Awesome.
day, it's just one more utility level that our Aavegotchis have.
Sure. I mean, it leads me to ask a question about the kind of trends that you see. I don't even know if you can answer this really, Gravy, but do you see a trend whereby the kind of early adopters are now kind of engaging in lending and lending out their gotchis to other people? Is that something that you're seeing, or is it not really happening like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We have I don't know what the specific number is. I know I could find it
Yeah.
on AavegotchiStats.com or somewhere, one of our Big Brain community members' statistic websites. But we have a lot of lending going on, with guilds, with individual players, and it's very lucrative for some
Yeah.
people.
I
I
can
know
imagine.
specific members of our community are making up to $900 a day, and that's pretty intense when you think about it. Of course, that requires a lot of
Yeah.
Aavegotchi NFT assets, but it clearly is making up for it with the ROI. But it's a very, very good concept that's being used every single day. People are borrowing out their Aavegotchis to collect alchemica from their alchemical channel, alchemical altars.
Hmm.
And Saturdays we have Alchemica collecting spillovers. So every time somebody channels their alchemical altar, a percentage of that spills over into the Gotchiverse, where all the players can go and collect. So
Nice.
that's one way. Yeah.
All right, cool. So there are options, and I think it's the barriers to entry are pretty low actually, in because people could see those opening prices and be like, whoa. So you need to just dig a little bit deeper, and again, that's why we do these sessions so people can find out about these things. It's very cool. So we spoke about rarity farming there a little bit, and you've got season 4 is live right now, right? Can you? That's correct, right? Can you just tell people what is rarity farming? Because people hear the word farming and they probably instantly make a lot of assumptions. So what is rarity farming? And it's passively part of the Aavegotchi world, right?
Yeah, so rarity farming is like our OG gaming mechanism while we were building before we had launched the Gotchiverse. It's our way of gamifying our NFT or Aavegotchi NFT assets and our wearable assets. So basically, what rarity farming is, it's a competition for 8 weeks running of the top 7,500 Aavegotchis according to their base rarity score, their kinship score, and their XP score. So you earn an ROI, farm an ROI on 3 different categories. And so the idea is every single Aavegotchi, when it comes out of a portal, when you summon an Aavegotchi, bring it to life, it has a base rarity score. So let's say it's 500. We'll keep that number. I think the top is, I want to say 582-ish. Somebody might have pulled something higher than that since I've seen the number, but it goes down to 365 up to 582 for rough numbers. And what your rarity score is will actually get you ranked on the leaderboards for rarity. Now, you can increase your rarity by attaching wearables to your Aavegotchi. So the Aavegotchi itself is an ER721 NFT, and the wearables are ERC1155s, meaning you can attach them to your Aavegotchi. So if you have, when an Aavegotchi comes out, when you summon it, we call those a naked Gotchi because it doesn't have any wearables on it. You can add glasses, beards, mustaches, hats, shirts, all sorts of different combinations of wearables that will increase the base rarity score of your Aavegotchi. So if you had a summoned Aavegotchi that at a 500 base rarity score, you could put common, uncommon, rare, legendary, mythical, or godlike wearables on top of it to increase its rarity score, and then climb the leaderboards for rarity. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if you pet your Gotchi twice a day, you earn kinship points. So every day you have an opportunity to raise the kinship level by 2 points. If you don't pet it within a 24-hour period, you lose a kinship point. So as long as you are petting and staying active with your Aavegotchi, your kinship score increases. So that's the second leaderboard you could earn on. And then the third leaderboard is XP, experience points, where you gain experience for joining community events, voting in the DAO, and other activities that you get awarded experience points. So the more experience points you have, the more kinship points you have, the higher BRS, base rarity score you have, the better chances you have of earning a higher ROI on the leaderboards for rarity farming. So that actually goes for 8 weeks, and we take a snapshot every 2 weeks. So you get paid out every 2 weeks in ROI according to your where you land on that leaderboard. And this first rarity snapshot, rarity farming season 4 snapshot is August 11th. And we're giving away 375,000 ghost for the top 7,500 Gotchis.
Whoa!
In all 3 categories.
So definitely worth participating by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. Last season we gave out 1.5 million ghosts total. So it's quite a cool concept to participate in. Now that we have, it's another gaming mechanism that we have to complement the Gotchiverse itself.
Nice. All righty, I think it's about time. I want to show a little trailer for the Gotchiverse that you guys released, the cinematic trailer, because it's really like. So let's flash this up, and then we'll jump into some Gotchiverse chat, I think, because let's lay the scene, as it were.
So you'll see those giant tripods in the back. Those were the Liquidators, the arch nemesis of the Gotchis, and you'll be basically battling against them in different great battles and different scenarios. Their job, the Liquidator itself, is going to be our free to play option, making it even
Okay.
easier for people to join. So when that is released, it's the free to play. We'll give out free to play credits for participating, for being involved in the Discord, several different ways to get this free to play credit. And your job as the Liquidator is the bad guy. So basically, you're going to run around and try to liquidate Gotchis and get their Alchemica and different, ruin their day. Basically, liquidate them.
Literally, like this, it
Yep.
looks awesome though, man. Like when you kind of see it there, and it's yeah, like it's very impressive, and it's really cool to kind of look at as well. And yeah, that's why I wanted to put it out there at the beginning. But is there a bit of a narrative with these liquidators, or is it just literally again, it's like DeFi premises sneaking into gamified play, or is it like, is there a narrative behind these guys? Have they got a bit of a backstory, or
Well, the backstory, that's a little bit of lore that we have. You have to check out our docs I believe it's docs.gotchiverse. Check out some of that stuff, our Gotchiverse docs. But there's still some room for that to be portrayed. That's something that I'd like to do in marketing in the future too. Obviously before they're released. But the concept behind that is like I mentioned, is just another instance where we can get our Aavegotchi assets, get people playing Aavegotchi without that cost barrier of entry.
yeah,
We understand that some people, they just have to be the enemy, and some people have to be the good guy. So we have a dynamic there where you can be the good guy or the bad guy, and both ways you can earn in the Gotchiverse.
that's pretty funny, man. You can't have good without bad, right? And you can't have
Right?
bad
Yeah,
without good.
it
So that
balances
makes
out pretty well.
that makes a lot of sense. I guess it'd be quite interesting to see how many people want to be the bad guy as well, like how fun that is as well. But I guess it's about the play mode and things like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we already do have a small community that is like, I'm going to be a liquidator. There's a community member that made a video with the liquidator, the head of the liquidators, kind of calling out our head of the Aavegotchis, which we call a farmer elf. So it was a little bit of a YouTube battle between the
Bit of
two.
beef going on. Oh wow, they got a showdown already. But this is awesome for community building, right? This is the kind of narratives that people want to get involved in, and then people want to, yeah, it brings people closer to your platform. It's not just some abstract idea of kind of a bit like DeFi, I guess. A lot of people probably look at DeFi and just think it's quite abstract and don't really understand what's happening there. I really like the gamification of DeFi to just break it down a little bit, to be quite honest with you, and make it
Absolutely.
more simplistic. But
Well, that's the beauty of Aavegotchi in general, is it could be the most basic DeFi, or it could be you could dive into the rabbit hole and absolutely learn everything that we offer and be doing, staking, farming, crafting, battling. You can play the game, or you could simply own the assets, stake some, interest bearing tokens inside of them, speculate on the price. It could be as simple as you want it to be, or as complicated, or I shouldn't say complicated, as complex as you want it to be.
as you want to make it, sure. We could even
Yes,
go so far as to say it's kind of like the entry level into more complex DeFi, right? Like you say, you're learning about yield farming, you're learning about complex financial things. You may even exit the game thinking you still don't know about these things. Sorry, I need to make that make sense. Like people are learning things perhaps without even realizing what they're
oh,
learning.
absolutely. Every single day. I see a lot of
Right.
Twitter interactions, comments with people. It's like, oh, that's what we've already been doing. It's like, yes, absolutely. But you got to this level because it was fun and gamified, and you've been able to learn without really realizing you're learning how to do this, because it's fun, exciting, it's cute. There's so many
Yeah.
different things that you can do with Aavegotchi assets.
Definitely, man. I couldn't agree more. I just see it as being a very, and I see it as an integral part of kind of education. Actually, like
Absolutely.
I think back to school, and I think back to the early days, and I don't think they taught us anything about how to pay rent, how to pay mortgage, how to live
Even
in a
how to write a
financially
check, for that matter.
nothing. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, I can't remember actually learning anything of any use. While well, I should be
Hey,
careful with that.
this
I
is
should be careful.
almost how I started my journey into crypto 100% of the time. So it's like, wait a
Really,
second, this makes way more sense over here.
Precisely, man. Like I couldn't agree more. Like it did seem to make more sense. They want you to be part of it rather than just again abstract to it and kind of confused by finance. Like finance is actually not that confusing, and I think projects like this are doing a great job of kind of showing people that as well, right? But it's been a while since you brought Gotchiverse out. It's been a little while now. Can you
Yep.
tell us a little bit about the kind of the earliness and like how is it evolving since? Like how's it been going as well?
Yeah, this is a great question. So basically, the way that we built the Aavegotchi Gotchiverse is you can look at it like a blank canvas.
Hmm.
And we had a couple of land auctions where community members purchased their land parcels. We have three sizes: humble, reasonable, and spacious. Each one getting larger and larger. So we had two land auctions where we distributed about all these land parcels where people were speculating on, I think this is going to be worth this amount because of which district. Either it's in District 1, District 10, 40, whatever it may be. And recently we actually launched farming. So okay, so from the get-go we had a blank canvas, and then we started introducing craftable Wednesdays where we had limited edition golden altars, we had purple grass, cyan grass, different NFT installations that you could purchase with Alchemica, which you picked up in game or channeled from your alchemical altar to start building out your land parcel. Now, if you're familiar with like Clash of Clans, it's sort of the same. It's sort of similar in the fact that you're building out your base. And so we had several different, like I mentioned, cyan, purple, gold.
Yeah.
People are syncing their Alchemica to craft these tiles to start beautifying the Gotchiverse. So it's basically a blank canvas with each user adding your artistic, creative ability, inspirations to their land parcels, and it's becoming more and more, I guess, colorful as the weeks go by. Because we continue, this Wednesday we'll be continuing with another new craftable Wednesday item. So it started out as a blank canvas, and then it started getting beautiful with color, and then we actually just introduced farming, which includes the NFT installations like harvesters and reservoirs. So before that, you could channel in your alchemical altar once every 24 hours according to the level of the altar, which you can upgrade from level 1 to level 9. And so like I believe a level 6 altar, you could actually channel from that every 6 hours. So you can get Alchemica by channeling. And so the farming release actually it introduced the harvesters and reservoirs. So these harvesters can actually pull Alchemica from your land and store them in your reservoirs, which every single land parcel actually had before the farming release an undetermined amount of Alchemica underneath the land. And once we released the farming mechanism, we actually, when you surveyed your parcel, it triggered a Chainlink VRF verifiably random function to determine how much Alchemica is underneath your land. So you had a chance to get a massive amount of Alchemica, or not as much Alchemica. I believe it's between 40 and 60%. But basically, you triggered that channel or the Chainlink VRF to help determine how much you could harvest from your land, and then you'd use things like the harvester to extract that from underneath your Gotchiverse parcel and store it in your reservoirs, which then you could accumulate Alchemica to either add more installations or upgrade them from level 1 to level 9.
Nice. And everything sounds very well interconnected, Gravy. Like everything sounds very logical and kind of coherent here. I mean, do you
Yes.
find that with and like that's a compliment to you guys, because sometimes it's like people are bolting things on for the sake of it to kind of stimulate new players and things like that. And I do kind of want to ask you about that as well, because we're going into, well, we're in we're in a market now which is down, right? And things
Yep.
have become a little bit sour, let's say, for example. But I think for people like us, anyway, at DappRadar and at Aavegotchi, this is a really cool time. This is the time when things are changing a little bit, and
Yeah.
we're building, right? So the kind of question I wanted to ask you is, how do you see things as a platform? Aavegotchi has such a great possibility to kind of draw people in and educate them and do things like this. I mean, what are you guys doing right now to kind of maintain, to make sure that your players are coming back, but also building more and bringing
Yeah.
more people into this platform? Like, can you share a little bit about that? I guess it's more kind of like roadmap stuff, like what's
Yeah,
coming.
definitely. I mean, you hit it on the head. It's like it's a blessing in disguise being in a bear market. The sentiment is low, but it gives us the ability to continue to build without
Exactly.
that pressure of when moon. Like I need moon by next week, otherwise I'm out. That kind of thing. So we have all been there. We've all done that, but we got the time to build what we're doing. We spent the past couple of years building to get to where we are today. I like to say that we're building something so great that it cannot be ignored. And so we did all the hard work and we're starting to now get to the
Yeah.
fun stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's not fun now. I'm just saying it's all fun from here on out because we did all the base layers stuff, all the super technical, difficult stuff. And now we get to start building out way more of the gameplay and the
Awesome.
more fun things that, retail and others would come in and expect right off the bat. So we get that time to build right now. So, like I mentioned, it's a blessing in disguise. It's a blessing and a curse. Bag
Yeah.
goes down, Gotchiverse goes up, in building. But it's all intertwined in the end, anyways. When it comes to Aavegotchi, not only Ghost, FUD, FOMO, Alpha, Keck, NFT
Exactly.
assets, all that stuff. And so, like I mentioned, we're building something. I like to say so great that it will not be you won't be able to ignore it. So the incentives that you can earn are
Yeah.
very good right now. So that's what we're using to bring back, our community and new people joining our community. It's a matter of that education barrier.
Yeah.
Learning that you don't have to spend $1,000 on an NFT just to get involved. Learning that there's Gotchi lending.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, like everything DeFi, there is an education barrier that you have to get over. So we're really focusing on that while we have this down, the lower sentiment in the market, to help inform people of, how to get involved, what you're missing out on if you're not already involved, and things like this AMA where we get out in front of different communities to really showcase what we've built.
That's it, right? Because I've used the word abstract a few times today, and I'm sorry for that. But it's kind of like, say, for example, you're scrolling through DappRadar and you're looking at the dapps that are available there, and what you see is a name. And you do have to go much deeper to figure out what's going on inside those dapps. It's a bit like Google. If you went back in a time machine and you saw the word Google, it wouldn't mean very much, would it? So it's, like I said a few times, it's super important for us to kind of lift the lid on these projects and let people hear as well as see and understand what's going on, because they are complicated. Let's not beat around the bush. Web3 is not an easy topic most of the time, so we need to, and then also these videos become useful later because people will be able to unpack all this information. So
Absolutely.
I
And
think it's
also to hit on that too, which is something to expect from Aavegotchi. We've been spending quite a bit of time building V2 of our website, which is going to include way more information, way more, I guess, bring we have a wiki, a blog, all sorts of things, all that information to one location to make that onboarding experience that much easier and that much more enjoyable. So we have V2 of our website coming out in the near future. Also, that's gonna showcase some pretty awesome things and a couple new features too.
Ooh, a couple of new features and a new website. That sounds pretty intriguing. All right, cool. I've just had a couple of questions pop in. First one, not I'm just going to ask it straight out. They are asking, what are your plans for invading Africa with your project?
Well, I mean, I invading naturally has a
Invade?
bad connotation around it, so I don't know. We're not trying to invade anywhere in terms of taking over in a negative way, but in terms of taking over in play to earn gaming in GameFi, we're definitely. I kind of want. I guess I sound like a broken record, but We're trying to build something so great that it will not be ignored. So Africa is not an exception. They'll see
Yeah.
us too.
That's it, right? It's not so much about geographical areas; it's about building the big totem pole that nobody can miss, right? Like
Absolutely,
I like that,
absolutely.
man. I like that. All right, we just had another question. It's one about the land, and I think we perhaps covered it a little bit, but let's just nail it. So King Rocky is asking, what are the benefits to owning land in Gotchiverse?
Sure. Okay. So I briefly hit on that about 5 minutes ago.
Hmm.
But if you don't own land, you can't earn the benefits of the alchemica to extract from that land. I guess actually, I have to step back a second. You can farm other people's land by
Yeah.
borrowing an Aavegotchi, but then you're only getting a certain percentage of the possible ROI. But if you want to truly have 100% of that ROI, you'd want to own your own land, whether it be a humble, the smallest, a reasonable, the medium size, or spacious, the large size, where you can then install harvester installations, and all of the good stuff that comes with it, an alchemical altar, and then extract directly from your land the alchemica that is allotted to that land parcel. But without that land parcel, it's a lot more difficult to earn that ROI, to earn that FUD, FOMO, alpha, and KEK.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why you would want to own land. Not only that, but we have a lot of really cool things that will be, the sky is really the limit. When we introduce the SDKs, you could literally open a business on your land parcel if you want, whether that be an NFT gallery, online shoe sales, or a radio station. Anything you can build on the Aavegotchi protocol, you'll be able to implement in your land parcel.
Do you think, Gravy, that eventually the Gotchiverse will become more like a kind of virtual world game rather than, and not so not financially driven, but I don't know,
Oh yeah.
maybe
Oh
more of
yeah.
a
Oh yeah. We have game plan. We have a 30-year roadmap, actually, which is pretty amazing to think of.
30 years?
We have a 30-year roadmap planned out. So
Wow.
we're here for the long run. That does sound silly, but we have a 30-year roadmap, and it's all thought out according to, even all of the Alchemica syncs are taken into consideration for a 30-year period to be truly sustainable. And our tokenomics behind our governance token is pretty awesome as well, where you're not going to get wrecked.
Yeah.
Because we are on a bonding curve. So it's going to give you a really solid understanding what your assets are worth, and or your Aavegotchi assets are worth. But we have an entire story behind Aavegotchi, where you will be battling the Liquidators. Right now, what's available is in the Citadel, which is like the safe haven for the Aavegotchis, where the Liquidators have a really tough time getting into, if they can even get into it. But once you leave the Citadel, which we call the grid, we have an entire world open where you're going to be exploring, battling between the Liquidators. You might even battle your own Aavegotchi neighbor if they cross your plot line, or there's a whole bunch of different things that could go into play. Like I mentioned earlier, we are the most active DAO in the world. If you have an idea that you think would be really awesome for our gameplay, you could submit it as a proposal, and we could vote on that, and that could very well be implemented into the 30-year roadmap. But there's a whole story on where where Aavegotchis came from, who the Liquidators are, what a great battle. There's different acts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I couldn't possibly explain right now. But if you go to our wiki.aavegotchi.com, you'll learn. You'll fall into the rabbit hole, in a very, very pleasant way.
It sounds like a pretty big rabbit hole. And
oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's that, like I mentioned, like all the way back to that first question, how to get involved with Aavegotchi. That's the kind of stuff that got me involved, because it's like, holy cow, they didn't just think of something to throw out there to get quick ROI, quick retail investors during a bull market. We were born in the tail end of the last bull market, so we've already experienced this once or twice now. And we are positioning ourselves very, very well for the start of the next bull run. And I really, truly believe that, we will rise out of the ashes of what was once GameFi, and truly be the beacon of light, and the go-to. We're already top 5 on Polygon, or top 10 according to the last statistics. But we will. I think a lot of other projects have already implemented some of the stuff that we've done, but it's just going to continue to grow that way. And I'm super pumped. And like I said, this is one of the reasons why I came on board to work for Pixelcraft Studios, creator of Aavegotchi, over a year ago. So I'm super pumped to be here.
I've got to say, man, like, that information has all been saturated into you, and now you're giving it to us, and that same level of excitement is inside me, because when you talk about things like a 30-year roadmap, I'm like, it's not silly. That's amazing. Like, that shows real, true thought patterns, and actually trying to.
Everything has been extremely thought out. And also, I do have to tip the hat to our community, because they're just so smart. They, like I mentioned earlier in this AMA, they've pointed out some things that we might not have necessarily thought of, but then it went through the voting process and we implemented it. That improved, our overall outlook, our overall roadmap, and all of that stuff. And so, like, we have a really, really strong smart community that is really there to build something and be a part of that build. Like, and it's not just us, devs in the background making all the decisions. Like, you're truly a part of this project, and you can truly have your ideas implemented. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience.
It's a very cool thing, and I think as we move forward into the future, it's only going to become more and more, which kind of leads me to ask the question, like, we're in this place at the moment with GameFi and play to earn. How do you see it progressing over the next kind of 24, 36 months in regards to GameFi? GameFi was made a lot of noise over the last 12 months, as we know. What's your kind of, I'm looking for more of, like, what do you think about when you're randomly considering the state of blockchain and gaming right now? Like, what's your kind of thoughts on the whole thing?
So, okay, so what immediately comes to mind is, if you want to succeed in GameFi, I think that you have to be mostly concerned with, like, the gameplay itself, and not just put together some game where you go push 2 buttons and collect something and then you're done for the day. A real engaging, interacting with your NFT assets, actually building, like, for instance, the most simplest terms is petting your Aavegotchi twice a day. If you want to be more rare than the next Gotchi down the line, you have to be interactive. You have to pay attention. You have to take care of your Aavegotchi. And the same thing with the land parcels. If you want an increased ROI, you go around, you collect the Alchemica, you upgrade your installations, you add more installations, all of this stuff. You participate in voting where you can earn XP. All of this in combination, all this combined makes a fun experience. And I'm sure you've heard it before, but a play to earn or GameFi is only as good as the gameplay itself, because you have to have a reason for people to come in and to stay, and not just come in, click a couple, like I mentioned, click a couple buttons and then be done.
It's not going to last, is it? Like, you can
not
do
at all.
that.
It has to be fun, and that's what we're building.
No, it's so true, man. Like, you can have short-lived success. I guess it's whether you want to be around for a good time or a long time, right? And
30 years. That's what we're here for. We're not here for one bull run.
That's it, man. And that's it. You were born out the back of the previous. So this is not new ground for you guys. This is actually, like, already stomped territory. So, all right, man. Super exciting, dude. Like, I could literally chat with you all day, but we've got to kind of wind it up a little bit. But I just want to give you the... is there anything that we haven't spoken about today, Gravy, that you want to get out there about the roadmap, about anything forthcoming for Gotchiverse or Aavegotchi that people should be checking out, getting into, looking out for? Hit us with
that. We kind of hit on it through our conversation, but I just reiterate it again. You still have time if you want to participate in Rarity Farming Season 2 Snapshot 1. Get yourself a Gotchi, get yourself some wearables, and our first snapshot for 375,000 ghosts spread out for 7,500 Gotchis is on August 11th. At 10 a.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. UTC. So if you want to a stab at some of that 375,000 ghosts, head over to the NFT Bazaar, check out some Aavegotchis, some wearables, get involved. Otherwise, I would definitely encourage you to borrow an Aavegotchi from our NFT marketplace, the Bazaar. Hop in on Saturday during our Gotchi hangouts at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, and then collect some Alchemica, see what it's all about, figure out, learn how the smart contract with the lending works, and then get yourself involved. I already did mention V2 of the website's coming out in the near future, where we have some pretty awesome features coming out, and including our GBM auctions, which we have to have another AMA if we want to discuss that. That's a whole nother thing. And then we're implementing a way to get involved with your credit card. More of that, Web 2 approach to get more people involved. Maybe they don't know how to MetaMask, or maybe they don't know how to bridge this or that. And so there's a few new features coming out on V2 that I really would urge you guys to look out for in the next week or two. But other than that, Rarity Farming's our OG game mechanism first snapshot is August 11th, and we have snapshots every 2 weeks. So you have 4 opportunities to ROI with your rarity, kinship, and your experience points.
Nice. So lots to be getting on with, lots of stuff that's happening that's exciting. Also, just to add to that, as we said at the beginning, guys, we've got a competition running on DappRadar, $2,000 worth of Ghost, which is available there for 200 lucky winners. Super simple question that you have to answer today. As I said, we've actually given you the answer. So if you've been listening, it'll be even easier. All right. So, Gravy, thank you so much, man. I really want to thank you for taking time out today to come and sit with us, to educate our grandmas and tell everybody about Aavegotchi and try and kind of break this whole thing down so that people can get it. As you said, I think I might want to dive into that 30-year roadmap in another AMA one day. I'm going to, one question, summarize it for my grandma, 30 years of roadmap.
There you go.
We can nail that.
Thank you so much for having me, and anybody in here that's looking to learn more information about Aavegotchi, please join our Discord. We have a lot of good community members that'll hold your hand all the way through whatever questions you may have. Hit up our Twitter at Aavegotchi, our blog at blog.aavegotchi.com, or our wiki, the big old rabbit hole, at wiki.aavegotchi.com, and learn some stuff. Come in, pop into the Discord, ask some questions, and would love to answer them for you. I'm an admin in there, so if you do have any specific questions, DM me, let me know that you heard about Aavegotchi from this stream, and I will be more than happy to get you some of that specific information.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Gray. That's really cool. Look, see, that's how it works, right? People have got questions, they need to be answered. You come to the Discord, or you get literally a live link up to a man that can answer it. It's perfect. All right, guys. So don't forget, we're back tomorrow here again. We're back every day this week, actually. It's a week of live shows. This is the first of many. So tomorrow we've got Alien Worlds. Head on over to DappRadar/DappDays. So DappDays, and you get all the information about the giveaways, and you can enter the one for Aavegotchi there as well. So final shouts. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned something here today. Big thanks to my guest. Have a great day, man, and the rest of your week. And I'm sure we will catch up at some point soon to talk about that 30-year roadmap.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Have a